Somebody asked me a very wonderful question the other day, and they asked, what is arguments? And I'm surprised I haven't talked about this like in the beginning of my tutorials, but let me go ahead and show you. Because we're going to get into scripting. Now, one thing we haven't at all touched on was scripts. Right here we have touched on sprites, sounds, paths, timelines, but we have not talked about scripts. What do we need them for? How do we make them? How do we use them? But first you need to understand what exactly an argument is. So, yes, I got my object in the create event. I'm going to add some code. This is an argument. When we use a code like this, instance create xy, then we put in an object enemy, for example. These are the arguments, x, y, and then object enemy. Arguments are the data needed for a function to work. Now remember, a function is something that does something. It has a function. So a function can have 0 or more arguments. So go ahead and take a guess. How many arguments does this function have? 3. It has this, your x position. It needs to know your y position. And then it needs to know the object that you want to create an instance of. So there are three arguments in this function. Now you can have 0 arguments, or you could have as many as you need for that function to work. Some pieces of code, they have a lot of arguments that you need to put in. And it's just data that your function needs to work. So an example of a function that has 0 arguments would be instance destroy. And this just destroys the instance that, you know what this code does. You've used it if you watch my tutorials. So this has no arguments. And if you put any in, if you want to destroy another instance, it will not work. You cannot put any arguments in this line of code. So it just has the opening and closing parentheses, and that's it. Nothing else. It doesn't need nothing. It's good to go. So no arguments for that function. An example of a function with 1 argument would be something like show message, and then on the inside you would put in maybe a variable that you want to write out, myvar, or you might want to put in a string, hello world. So that is just an idea of a function that only has 1 argument. So it's just, this function to show a message, well, you need a message to be shown. Well, you want to create a instance of an object, well, it needs to know the object, and it needs to know the position where you want to put it out. And again, we know we can change x to a number, and we can change y to a number. So, that is what an argument is. Now, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit deeper. I'm hitting puberty. It's amazing. I'm actually sick, a little bit sick. I got a flu shot, and I knew, because everyone tells me if you get the flu shot, you're going to have flu symptoms in a couple weeks. Everyone tells me this. So the doctor told me, you need to have a flu shot. So I said, will I have flu-like symptoms? He said, no, don't even worry about it. You're not going to. The worst you're going to have is a sore arm. I got the sore arm. 2 weeks later, I got flu symptoms. Just drives me nuts. Okay, where was I? That was unrelated to everything that I'm talking about. So, that being said, that is what an argument is. Delete all that. We don't need it no more. Now, scripting. When you write out scripts, you're going to be dealing with arguments a lot of times. Now, sometimes you can write out a script that has no arguments. Let me back up. A script, right here, when you create a script, this is going to really just act like your own function, like, instance create. Well, you can make your own function and then call it in your objects that you're using. So you can write out a script that does something specific that maybe GML doesn't cover. So you can write out, tons of code and everything, and then you can name your script, and then in your program or in your object, you can then use that script at any time and use that function to do something that maybe another GML function doesn't have. So how do we write a script, and how do we make one? Or how do we use it in our object? Well, we've already created our script right here, and it's called script 0. I'm going to change the name of it to my script. Going to delete all that nonsense. And this is, you just use regular GML in this. So, in my case, I'm going to just show a message. Show message, this is my own function. And there we go. And all I'm going to do is whenever I use my script here, I'm going to just show this message. This is my own function. So that's our script. We don't have to do anything else with it. We can now open up our object player. It's hiding here in the corner. Whoa, how'd that happen? So now that we have our script, and it really, like I said, is like our own function, we can, what in the world? Get back to the size I want you to be at. We can go into any object now, and in our case, in the create event, and this is how we would run that script, because it's not going to just automatically run on its own unless you have another object or something that is telling it to run. So in our create event, this is how we would run a script. We would just put script execute, and then we'd write in the name of our script that we wrote out. So in my case, my script. And that's all you do. So this is an example of running our script that has no arguments, meaning it has no extra information that we need to run the script. Because you can make a really long script that needs some data in order to run. We're going to get into this later in another tutorial, so don't get confused. So, but this is just how you make a script. You go right click create script. You'll get this window. You name the script. You write the script out. Go to your object in the create event. Add some code, and just script execute. And then you write in the name of your script. And it doesn't have to be in the create event. It can be in any event that you'd like it to be. So now when we run this code, it's just simply going to show a message. This is my own function. So this is my own function. It just works right away. So there you go. That's how you run scripts. That is what an argument is. And we'll be getting into more about scripting here one of these days. We'll see. Because you can add your own arguments, much like instance create xy and then the object. Well, after you put in my script, you could put in your own arguments. You can make your own script that creates instances somewhere. However you wanna just write stance. What in the world? I was saying instance, so stance came out, so I wrote stance. I don't even know your own instance. So there you go. We'll get into more of it here soon. Alrighty. Thanks for watching.